Self-awareness is one of the most important skills a person can develop, yet many people move through life without truly understanding what they feel, why they react the way they do, or how their habits shape their results. When you become more self-aware, you begin to notice your emotions, thoughts, strengths, limitations, triggers, and patterns with greater clarity. That awareness helps you make better decisions, improve relationships, manage stress, and grow in a more intentional way. In this video, we'll explore what self-awareness really means, why it matters so much in daily life, and how you can start building it through simple, practical habits. The goal is not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself better. Have you ever said something and regretted it a moment later? Or made a decision that felt right in the moment, but later wondered, why did I do that? Maybe you felt frustrated, anxious, or offended without fully understanding the reason. These moments are common, and they reveal something important. Many of our reactions happen automatically. We act, feel, and respond based on patterns we may not even notice. Self-awareness begins when we slow down enough to observe those inner patterns. It is the ability to notice what is happening inside us while we are living our everyday lives. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize your own thoughts, emotions, behaviors, motives, and habits. It means understanding what you are feeling, why you are feeling it, and how those feelings influence your actions. It also includes noticing your strengths, weaknesses, values, and the effect you have on other people. In simple terms, self-awareness is the skill of seeing yourself clearly, not harshly, not critically, clearly. It helps you step back from autopilot and become more conscious of how you think and behave. The more clearly you see yourself, the more wisely you can guide your life. Self-awareness has two sides. The first is internal self-awareness. This is how well you understand your own emotions, thoughts, values, triggers, and goals. The second is external self-awareness. This is how well you understand how others experience you. You may think of yourself as calm, helpful, or confident, but how do others see you? Are you approachable? Do you listen well? Do you seem impatient without meaning to? Real growth happens when both types of awareness develop together. Knowing yourself internally is powerful, but understanding how your behavior impacts others makes that awareness even more useful. Many people avoid looking inward because they think self-awareness means constantly finding fault with themselves. But that is not true. Self-awareness is not the same as self-criticism. Self-criticism says, I always mess things up. Self-awareness says, I notice that I become defensive when I feel judged. Self-criticism attacks. Self-awareness observes. One makes you feel smaller. The other helps you grow. The purpose of self-awareness is not to become overly self-conscious or insecure. It is to become honest, balanced, and more in control of your choices. It allows you to respond with wisdom instead of reacting from habit. One of the biggest benefits of self-awareness is emotional clarity. If you cannot identify what you are feeling, your emotions can control you without your knowledge. You may think you are angry, but underneath, you may actually feel hurt, ignored, or afraid. When you become aware of the real emotion, you gain power. You can pause, reflect, and choose a better response. Self-awareness helps you notice early emotional signals before they become outbursts, withdrawal, or poor decisions. It gives you space between feeling and action. And in that space, you gain freedom. Self-awareness also improves decision-making. Every choice you make is shaped by your beliefs, priorities, fears, and habits. If you are unaware of those influences, you may make decisions for the wrong reasons. You may say yes because you want approval. You may avoid a challenge because you fear failure. You may overwork because you tie your worth to productivity. Self-awareness helps you ask better questions. What is really driving this choice? Am I acting from clarity or emotion? Does this align with my values? Better decisions begin with better self-understanding. Relationships improve when self-awareness grows. Why? Because self-aware people tend to communicate better, listen more carefully, and take responsibility for their behavior. If you know that you interrupt when excited, become silent when upset, or react sharply when stressed, you can begin to manage those patterns. You stop assuming that your intention is all that matters and start noticing your impact. This creates trust. It also helps you understand others more deeply, because when you are honest about your own emotional life, you become less judgmental of theirs. Self-awareness creates better connection. Without self-awareness, people often either underestimate themselves or overestimate themselves. Some fail to see their gifts. Others ignore their weaknesses. Neither view is accurate or helpful. Self-awareness gives you a more balanced picture. You begin to see what you do well, where you struggle, and where you need support or improvement. This is useful in work, personal development, and leadership. When you know your strengths, you can use them more intentionally. When you know your limitations, you can work around them, improve them, or ask for help where needed. Real confidence comes from accurate self-knowledge. A major part of self-awareness is pattern recognition. Every person has emotional triggers and repeated behaviors. Perhaps criticism makes you defensive. Maybe uncertainty makes you anxious. Maybe you avoid difficult tasks when you feel overwhelmed. These patterns often repeat until you notice them clearly. Once you do, change becomes possible. You begin to see not just what you do, but what leads up to it. You notice the trigger, the emotional response, and the behavior that follows. This is powerful because transformation begins when the hidden pattern becomes visible. When self-awareness is low, people often repeat the same mistakes without understanding why. They blame others too quickly, misread situations, or act out of emotion while believing they are being logical. They may struggle with conflict, poor habits, stress, or broken communication because they are unaware of the deeper causes. Lack of self-awareness can keep a person stuck. It becomes difficult to grow when you cannot see what needs attention. It is like trying to improve your direction while refusing to look at the map. Awareness does not solve every problem, but without it, many problems continue unchanged. If self-awareness is so valuable, why do many people struggle with it? One reason is busyness. When life moves fast, there is little time to reflect. Another reason is discomfort. Looking inward can reveal things we would rather avoid. Ego can also interfere. It is easier to defend ourselves than to admit we were wrong, insecure, or reactive. Sometimes we simply lack the habit of reflection. No one taught us how to pause and examine our thoughts or emotions. The good news is that self-awareness is not a trait you either have or don't have. It is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. The first step in building self-awareness is learning to pause. Throughout the day, take small moments to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What am I thinking? What is influencing my mood? Why am I reacting this way? These questions create inner space. You do not need to stop everything and meditate for an hour. Even brief pauses can make a difference. The goal is to interrupt autopilot. When you begin observing yourself in real time, your inner life becomes clearer. And when clarity grows, wise action becomes easier. Another simple method is journaling or quiet reflection. At the end of the day, ask, what went well today? What upset me? When did I feel most energized? When did I feel drained? Did I respond in a way I feel good about? Reflection helps you connect events with emotions and behaviors. Over time, you begin to see patterns that are hard to notice in the moment. You do not need perfect writing or long entries. A few honest observations each day can create remarkable insight. Small reflection, repeated consistently, becomes deep self-knowledge. Self-awareness grows even faster when you invite thoughtful feedback. Sometimes other people can see things about us that we miss. Ask trusted people questions like, how do I come across when stressed? What do I do well? Where do you think I hold myself back? Feedback is not always easy to hear, but it can be deeply valuable. The key is to listen without immediately defending yourself. You do not have to accept every opinion, but you should be willing to consider what it reveals. Honest feedback can become a mirror that helps you see more clearly. In everyday life, self-awareness shows up in small but powerful ways. It helps you notice when you need rest instead of pushing harder. It helps you recognize when your frustration is really disappointment. It helps you choose words more carefully in difficult conversations. It helps you understand what motivates you, what drains you, and what matters most to you. Over time, self-awareness leads to more intentional living. You become less controlled by impulse and more guided by understanding. That does not make you perfect. It makes you conscious, adaptable, and better equipped for life. So, what is self-awareness? It is the ability to understand your inner world and recognize how it shapes your outer life. And why does it matter? Because it improves emotional control, decision-making, relationships, confidence, and personal growth. The more aware you become, the more choice you have. Instead of being driven by hidden habits and emotional reflexes, you begin to live with greater clarity and purpose. Self-awareness is not about becoming overly focused on yourself. It is about becoming honest enough to understand yourself and wise enough to grow from that understanding.
Self-awareness is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is an ongoing practice of noticing, reflecting, and learning. The more you understand your thoughts, emotions, values, and behavior, the more intentionally you can live. You become better at handling challenges, making decisions, building relationships, and growing with purpose. The good news is that self-awareness does not require perfection. It only requires honesty and attention. Start small. Pause more often. Reflect on your reactions. Ask questions about yourself with curiosity, not judgment. Over time, those simple moments of reflection can lead to meaningful change. And that is where real personal growth begins.